Hey, I am Ted Wood, and what we're going to talk about today is the ugly truth about Caitlin Clark. All of it, from top to bottom. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about Caitlin Clark as a layer. Then we're going to talk about the Caitlin Clark effect and what's going on here, because a lot of it is really just could be somewhat irritating. And it would cause me to want to delve into the vernacular to explain how I feel about certain things. But I want to have this G-rated, so I'm not going to do that. Let's start with Caitlin as a player. Before I even go there, though, I want to talk with you about John Stockton, because John played for the Utah Jazz. I lived in Salt Lake County, and all throughout his whole career. I think after his first year, I'll bet I did not miss 10 games the rest of his career that I didn't at least listen to or watch. And at that time, it was you had channel 5. You could watch the Utah Jazz games. They were all there. And it wasn't like today where you got to have 57 different thousand memberships to be able to watch all the games. No, at that time you just turn on Channel 5. There it was, Hot Rod Huntley. And he was the same guy doing the game on TV as he was the same guy doing it on the radio. So you got his descriptive analysis, and he was really quite something. John blew me away when I first started seeing John Stockton. He was just better than other players. I mean, this guy could see pretty well and make some pretty doggone awesome passes. He knew how to play the game, and he just played it very, very well. And so I was really impressed with that. And then along comes this lady I hear about, Caitlin Clark. And I started watching her, and I said, oh my gosh, she's actually better than John Stockton. And John had still holds the record for the most assists and the most steals, I believe, for a career. So he was pretty daggone good. But Caitlin Clark, what was different about her, she could shoot three-pointers from just about anywhere. John could also, but he just didn't. Very seldom did he shot that one three-pointer to get the Jazz into the NBA Finals that one year. You can watch that on YouTube if you like. But Caitlin Clark, she could shoot and did shoot three-pointers like crazy. She made passes John Stockton never made. I mean, she would, almost full court passes. And on the dime, I mean, when they call it a dime, that's what it was. I mean, she just hit them right on the numbers. And so I'm watching her. Plus, she moved around like a can of worms. I mean, she broke a lot of ankles, let's put it that way. And I want to mention that because this guy, Tim, what the heck is it? Tim Grover. He was what do you call it? He was the trainer for Michael Jordan, for Kobe Bryant, for Dwayne Wade. I mean, he was pretty amazing, and he did a great job of getting these guys straightened around. And he said some things that make me nervous about how you're supposed to stop and stuff like that. And she may not be doing everything the way that is safe for her future. And I hope she gets it all figured out, but I don't want her to lose her ability to move and stop and start and do the things that she does so well. All right, so she's just better. That's the bottom line. Well, how did she get to be who she is? And people like me that know basketball pretty well and have watched a fair amount of it, look at her and recognize she's better. And I think a lot of the players recognize she's better too. They just don't want her to be better. And, geez, I just knocked her over. Look at that. She's on the floor. She wasn't looking and I pushed her. And she can't be that good. That's the way people think. You know what I mean? And so she is just an awesome player. Sadly, she's hurt now. And hopefully she will get better soon and stay better. And that was the thing that when I mentioned this Tim Grover, I hope she finds someone like him, if not him himself, to help her to not have more problems. I can tell you about groin pulls. Groin pulls the kind of thing that it's different than a hamstring or the kind of different other things that she had. But what I mean by that is that when you have a groin pull, it's the kind of thing that you can wake up in the middle of the night in excruciating pain because you turned the wrong way in bed. I mean, they have a way of hanging in there and not going away. I hope she figures it out and gets it under control soon, too, so we can get her back playing. All right. That's her as a player. She's unique. She's different. She set all these records her first year in the league, and she would set more this year and probably will, but she's been out so much with injuries, which is sad. And that's what happened to Michael. And that was one of the reasons that he worked with this Tim Grover, because Tim could help him so that he wouldn't be getting injuries, so that he could play and not get hurt. And that's what I hope we can get her to. All right. But let's talk next about the Caitlin Clark effect and what's going on with the league. We'll start with the refs. Anybody who's been watching her or watching the games knows that the refs they're calling a foul as she breathes on someone, but they, toss her around like a rag doll, and there's no foul called. And that's pretty much going for the entire Indiana Fever. And I'm going to want to talk with you about why that is. First of all, the refs don't just sit there as refs and make a mistake in how they call a game against Caitlin Clark. That's not a mistake. And that's not something they thought of themselves, all these different refs. There's a directive coming down to the refs from somewhere. Where? You tell me. But it's certainly pretty high up in the WNBA or maybe even the NBA. I mean, they own the lion's share of the WNBA. So let's talk about what's going on. And they don't want her to be the main player for the very reason that what you see, I mean, it's a dumb piece of business. Who would want to run a business like that where it revolves around one player? If that one player gets hurt or is out, then half of your business goes bye-bye. Well, why would you want to build your business like that? Well, believe me, they don't want to build it like that. Let's talk about where this comes from. There's a principle called the Pareto principle. And that says that 20% of what you do gives you 80% of your results. People understand that. 20% of the plants in your garden give you 80% of the flowers or whatever. You know what I mean? So that principle, the Pareto principle, I'm going to talk with you about something. This comes from me. I've never heard it from anyone else, but you're going to see it in practice with Caitlin, and I saw it my whole life because I wasn't in basketball, I was in sales. And the Pareto principle works there too. 20% of your salespeople bring you 80% of your results or more. Okay, when I say or more, what we don't understand is that Pareto principle is a fractal. I'm going to pause for a minute here. Hold on. All right, back to the Pareto principle. And I'm telling you that I've just not heard other people talk about this, but I'm going to prove that what I'm saying is true or has the propensity to be true, and I'll prove it in many ways. And that is that the Pareto principle, 20% of your, say, salespeople bring you 80% of the business. Well, it's a fractal, meaning that 20% of the 20% bring you 80% of the 80%. And if you carry this out, you'll get, and then 20% of that 20%, 80% of that 80%, you'll get to where less than 1% of your salespeople bring you more than half of your business. Well, let's talk about Caitlin. We're talking sales. When you talk about the Caitlin Clark effect, you're talking about how many people come to watch the game, how many buy tickets, how many buy jerseys, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they've proven that when she's out injured, roughly speaking, half of the business goes bye-bye. Now, that is why the owners of the WNBA, the people who are at the top of this thing, they don't want this. They want it spread out so they can control it. Having Caitlin Clark bring in all this business is problematic. We have another very big problem. I'm going to talk with you about this quietly. We'll keep it our secret, although we know damn well it's not our secret, and that is this. When Larry Bird and Magic Johnson started playing and changed the NBA big time because of their greatness and their rivalry. Let's see if I can remember. Larry Bird played in Boston, big town, and Magic Johnson in LA, even bigger. Oh, and what about Michael Jordan? Oh, he was Chicago. Where's Caitlin from? Indiana. Let me assure you that while I don't know who they are, I couldn't tell you the exact people that are running this WNBA. They're from the bigger organizations, the bigger towns. New York, Chicago, LA, that kind of thing, if you know what I'm saying. So she's from Indiana. Well, they don't like that. That's not what they're trying to promote. They want it to be where they are, where the big money is. And so the fact that and worse, she came from Iowa. Now, one of the problems that Caitlin Clark has, let's talk about this. I want to give you some statistics for a second. Make no mistake about it. Caitlin Clark is white, playing in a league that is still, roughly speaking, 75% black. All right? Now, while the dream of some of us, I grew up in the 60s, and the dream was that we were going to have equality. Everything was going to, you'd look at people like as if they were all green or all purple, so that you didn't really care whether they were black or white or what color they were, that they were all treated equally. That was the dream that a lot of us had. And I still think it's a good dream. It's not gotten any better, to be honest with you, though. 75% of the people in the league are black, but in the United States, only 14.4% of the people in the United States are black. And worse, in Iowa, it's only 4.1%. So when Caitlin Clark came over, not only was she white, she was bringing a predominantly white audience with her. They were from the Midwest, which is predominantly white, more so than the rest of the United States, if you follow what I'm saying. So that's part of the problem. But a biggest part of the problem is the fact that the people that are running the league, they don't want one person like that to be controlling so much. They're already seeing the problem with that. She got injured and she's out and half of their business goes bye-bye. Who would want that? Well, nobody wants that. That's not what they're looking for. And so when I say the ugly truth, that's a big part of the ugly truth about Caitlin Clark. She's, if you study her, you'll find out she's a pretty amazing person. You can see the way she behaves herself. She's a very nice person. She's not prejudiced against anyone. She treats people like they were all the same color, and she's happy to do it. Still, people are competitive. They don't want her to be the number. I want to be the number one. Can you imagine? There's some guy sitting on the bench who can hardly play a lick, and he said, "Come on, coach, get that Jordan guy out of there. Let me play. It's my turn. I want to play." Well, sure, they all want to play, but they don't play like Michael Jordan did or like Caitlin Clark does, and so there you got your issues. So I'm gonna leave it at that for now. I sure would like to hear from you if you think that you could offer some thoughts that we could talk about. Let's do it. Let's get this thing. Let's see if we can figure out how to make this better. God bless you all. Have a good. Take care. See ya. Bye.